Big fantasies all over this player for the waiver wire as the top pickup, but he might be still getting nuked this week. And we're talking about Emanuel Wilson. We're going to be looking at the news, the facts, the data, the advanced analytics on his deep dive today to see whether or not you should be picking him up in fantasy football, because there's some interesting news that's been turning over the last 24 hours. Before we dig in, though, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing these deep dives every single day on as many players as possible. That way you know more about the player, the advanced analytics that are sometimes hard to find. On top of that, their situation, so you can make your decision for your team. You may watch this and be like, I'm not going to pick him up. He may watch this and be like, yeah, I got to go all in. I got to make this move now. It's on your perspective. We're going deeper on the waiver wire than anybody else on YouTube. And on top of that, we're going to help you set your lineups later this week. Click that subscribe button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair. But Josh Jacobs could be back this week. He could be back next week. No structural knee damage. None. He is day-to-day, which means that could be week-to-week, or he could be actually day-to-day. That's how NFL news goes. When they say day-to-day, it could be week-to-week. When they say week-to-week, that could mean month-to-month. That's something to pay attention to. But he's going to be out there sooner than later, and sooner than what we are looking at when we were talking about him on Sunday. And we knew that the potential of him being back sooner than later was in the cards, because that's kind of what Josh Jacobs does. That's what he does. He would nuke the waiver wire for us. We're looking at Emanuel Wilson here. Throughout the year, he's been able to give you some production. He got you 3 games in the double digits this year, which is very good as a backup running back behind a guy like Josh Jacobs, who's getting all the work. And Josh Jacobs had some other scares this year, and this won't be our first deep dive where Josh Jacobs ruins the party if it happens, because he was trending. They were adding guys up from the practice squad, Pierre Strong, the last time, but we had to put it on notice just in case, so you knew who this guy is. Emanuel Wilson gets a lot of touches for a backup running back, and he scores from time to time pretty well for fantasy football, which is good for a stash play. So if you do pick him up and you end up not needing him, at least you got a stash play behind a running back that has recently been banged up, because he's been on this team for a bit. He's been able to hold down a role, even though he's a UDFA from a small school. His measurables, nothing really to write home about, but good size, good feet, good vision, good timing out of the backfield. Just gets the job done. Nothing flashy, nothing top tier. He's just a meat and potatoes running back, and with a lot of volume in this Packers offense, as he's shown here in some of these moments, especially last year. He had 3 games of double-digit fantasy scoring production. He had 3 games this year, 6 games over the last year and a half. He's given you some good production. So there's some value here as a backup running back. There's enough here to say, hey, he's going to be getting the workload as we're looking at the opportunity share, which is 12%, which is up there with some of the top backups in the league. And Josh Jacobs getting a 36% opportunity share. Top tier, good, solid, 61% share of the carries, 12% target share. Emanuel Wilson's got a 5% target share, so he does get some work out of the backfield along with a 22% snap rate. I can definitely see a lot of Josh Jacobs opportunity share going to Emanuel Wilson, especially if it's for 1 game or so. Chris Brooks would see some opportunity. We're watching Marshawn Lloyd off the IR. We haven't seen him ever since USC, really. Well, practice clips, but sure. And you're looking at the production here. Emanuel Wilson, 4.2 yards per carry. Josh Jacobs, we've called this out a number of times, 3.8 yards per carry, but he's good at getting volume. He's on his Ezekiel Elliott last dance phase when you're looking at the advanced analytics, when you're looking at the efficiency metrics, but it's fine still for fantasy football. We already got 11 touchdowns, 648 yards. We're getting a lot of touches. We're good at getting a lot of touches, and we're good at turning that into fantasy production. We may not be the most efficient running back, but we're good at scoring fantasy points with a lot of touches. Emanuel Wilson, though, next man up, as you see with the numbers, he's running 7 routes a game. That should jump up to where Josh Jacobs is at. They don't go often to the running back, 3.7 targets per game to Josh Jacobs, but a little extra targets is going to help buoy that floor a little bit, and you should see a decent route participation rate. Chris Brooks, when you're looking to workload opportunities, should be getting a little bit. And when you're looking at him, though, there's nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. Manny Wilson's got this. He would be the starter if Josh Jacobs was out. That's the thing. He's not going to be getting messed with. That's why we liked Manny Wilson throughout the season as a stash play. And when it comes to his efficiency metrics here, it's not like he's Bijan Robinson. He's 5th among running backs, yards created per touch. And everything else, it's kind of mid, but remember, he's only got 53 carries. So really, you want to look at everything per touch. Yards per touch, 4.5, 33rd among running backs, which when you look at his athleticism score, it is what it is. It's fair considering he's 50th among running backs in carries. I think he's fine in those regards, considering the guys and starters who are getting all the touches should be more promising than him because he's a small school back, not super athletic. He's just a sound player. He's just a sound player who commands a lot of work in this offense. You're looking at the yards after contact per attempt here, 3.08 for Josh Jacobs, 3.04 for Manny Wilson, 0.67, which is one of the lowest we've seen from a running back for Chris Brooks, but he's only had 3 carries. Manny Wilson's not getting messed with if Josh Jacobs goes down. He is getting the work. He is getting the touches. He has the potential to volume himself into production. You do have the Vikings this week. You're looking at this potential game script. The Vikings are mid when it comes to allowing fantasy production to running backs. More often than not, they're allowing the opposing running back to at least hit the fairway. Nothing grandiose. No one busted them up yet this season, and they have checked a few teams at running back. The Eagles, you're seeing the Bengals, you saw the Bears once, but it's all about volume. It's all about touches. I don't see him getting messed with by another running back. I look for him to get all the touches. The running back that could mess with him is Josh Jacobs. That's the thing about that. Now, if Josh Jacobs is out 2 games, Detroit is a nasty matchup, but more often than not, they will allow running backs to hit the fairway. They won't let running backs to go nuclear, and it's very rare that they score 15-plus fantasy points. It's very rare for that to happen. That being said, you would expect, considering the trends here, that he gets you around 10 fantasy points in this matchup. Maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, like 12 or so, but somewhere around that 10 range. And so we're looking at this. The Minnesota game's more optimal. And if he's out 3, which I highly doubt since he's day-to-day, but day-to-day can turn into week-to-week, we're still monitoring the status here. Wednesday will give us a better look for practice reports, so won't Thursday. But that Bears game and that other Bears game is what you're looking at. But they got some rough matchups coming out here. Why you need them? Because Josh Jacobs out. You want the touches this week. If Josh Jacobs is out, he is highly likely to hit that 10 to 15 point range. Highly likely. Odds are in his favor to score a touchdown. Doesn't mean he will. Odds are definitely boosted, increased. He will definitely probably see 15-ish opportunities, if not more. He will get to work out of the backfield. You'd be picking up at least a starting running back for the week unless Josh Jacobs plays. That's the risk. And it's Tuesday, which means your waiver wire might run tonight. So good luck, Stallion. Good luck, because I ain't going to say it's a guarantee. That would be a lie. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee one way or the other. That would be a lie. Good luck, Stallion. I can definitely tell you what happens if Josh Jacobs plays and if he doesn't play. We know what happens if Josh Jacobs plays. But if he's out, we definitely know Manny Wilson would be the guy, and he would be getting the touches, a better opportunity to scoring for your fantasy football team this week, giving you a good result. That being said, I can't promise he goes nuclear. I can definitely say he will be getting a lot of the touches. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.